calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. My whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation of supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
Hey, what do you say, folks? Tuesday, May 3rd. If it's Tuesday, it's got to be another primary. And sure enough, all eyes on Indiana. We're coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. Our studio right here on Capitol Hill, reaching out to you nationwide on Free Speech TV and, of course, worldwide on our video stream. TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKRTV. And this is it. Yes, indeed, the big Indiana primary, where 57 delegates up for stake for Republicans and 92 for Democrats. And it's a big deal on both sides. On the Republican side, of course, it is Ted Cruz trying to stop Donald Trump. He said this is where he's going to do it. He put all of his forces into Indiana. John Kasich stayed out of the state. But the latest poll shows Donald Trump with a 15-point lead. And if Trump, as expected, wins Indiana, maybe gets even all the delegates in Indiana, it'll be hard for Ted Cruz to make a case why he should still stay in the race. In fact, Carly Fiorina, as you probably saw, disappeared, fell down a trap door, it looked like, while she was introducing Ted Cruz at a rally on Sunday. That could be emblematic of the entire Cruz campaign. On the Democratic side, it is a statistical tie between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Bernie looking for another win to regain his momentum. Speaking of Cruz, the first cruise ship in over 40 years from the United States arrived in Havana yesterday. It was a glorious moment. Some 700 passengers overnight from Miami arriving in Havana. We got lots to talk about today. Give us a call on any of the subjects that pique your interest at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at PP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
"21. My father is run over by a car. He's passed out in the road with a blood alcohol content 4 times the legal limit. I do not cry. 4 months later, the nurses lose his pulse, and I wonder whose life flashed before his eyes. Rewinding VHS tapes, old home videos. 20. 19. I haven't brought a friend home in 4 years. 18. My mother sips the word divorce. Her mouth curls at the taste like it burns going down. 17. I start doing homework at Starbucks. I have more meaningful conversations with the barista than with my family. 16, I wait for Christmas Eve. My brother and I usually exchange gifts to one another early. This year, he and my father exchange blows. My mother doesn't go to Mass. 15, I come up with the theory that my father started drinking again because maybe he found out I'm gay. Like, if he could make everything else blurry, maybe somehow I'd look straight. 15. My mother cleans up his vomit in the middle of the night and cooks breakfast in the morning like she hasn't lost her appetite. 15. I blame myself. 15. My brother blames everyone else. 15. My mother blames the dog. 15. Super Bowl Sunday, my father bursts through the door like an avalanche, picking up speed and debris as he falls. Banisters, coffee tables, picture frames, tumbling, stumbling. I find his AA chip on the kitchen counter. 14. My father's been sober for 10, maybe 11 years. I just know we don't even think about it anymore. 13. 12. 11, Mom tells me Daddy's meetings are for AA. She asks if I know what that means. I don't. I nod anyway. 10. My parents never drink wine at family gatherings. All my other aunts and uncles do. I get distracted by the TV and forget to ask why. 9. 8. 7. 6. I want to be Spider-Man. Or my dad. They're kind of the same. 5. 4. 3, I have a nightmare. The recurring one about Ursula from The Little Mermaid. So I get up, I waddle toward Mommy and Daddy's room, blankie in hand. I pause. Daddy's standing in his underwear, silhouetted by a refrigerator light. He raises a bottle to his lips. 2. 1. 0. When my mother was pregnant with me, I wonder if she hoped, as so many mothers do, that her baby boy would grow up to be just like his father.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay, so who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
All eyes on Indiana. Can Ted Cruz stop Donald Trump? And can Bernie get back in the winning column? Hello, everybody. What do you say? Here we go. It's another, dare we say it, Super Tuesday, at least. It's a primary Tuesday. Just one today. Indiana, 57 delegates for Republicans, 92 for Democrats. And it's an open primary. Anybody can vote anywhere. Let's go for it. Get out there and vote, even if it's maybe a little too early yet. You can at least get in line, and all of us will be watching and weighing the consequences. Good to see you today. Thank you for joining us here on the Bill Press Show. We're here in Washington, D.C., but we're also there with you, wherever you happen to be in this great country of ours. We're right alongside of you on the radio, on your local progressive talk radio station, and on those two great radio apps, iHeartRadio or TuneIn. Download both of them. They're free, or at least either one. You can find us there and take us with you on the radio anywhere you go. And we're looking at you on Free Speech TV as well. You're looking good today. Nationwide on Free Speech TV, nationwide and worldwide on our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV. So good to see you with lots to talk about. That's not the only news. We'll also talk about the big first cruise ship heading into the harbor of Havana yesterday. It took an overnight ride from Miami, some 700 passengers, including some Cuban Americans who had not, some born in Cuba who hadn't been back there since they left as children. A very emotional experience and a welcome sign that relations between the United States and Cuba have indeed improved thanks to President Obama. Lots to talk about. Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson leading a team here this morning.
Hello, Bill. Good morning.
We're up for it. We're ready to go. Ray Rogers on the job as well as our screener. Ready for your calls at 866-55-PRESS. Cyprian Bolding, yep, here he is on the job as our videographer as well this morning. And, you know, the big question is now, if Donald Trump does win Indiana, if Ted Cruz is not able to stop him in Indiana, well, will Ted Cruz turn around and support Donald Trump? You know, Chuck Todd did his best to get an answer out of Ted Cruz on that question on Meet the Press on Sunday.
You've spent this entire interview trying to eviscerate Donald Trump. If he's the nominee, I take it you can't support him anymore, can you?
I believe if the Republican Party nominates Donald Trump, we will lose to Hillary, because when we offer Democrat light, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton on the ballot, they support the same social policy. They support the same economic policy. And
I understand what you believe in the Republican Party. Can you support him? Can you tell your delegates,
Chuck,
lay down your arms and support Donald Trump? Well, you may not.
Chuck,
you realize that.
I recognize that many in the media would love for me to surrender to Donald Trump.
Are you going to support Donald Trump if he's the nominee?
I am going to beat Donald Trump.
I don't think we got an answer to
that. Man.
You know what? He's going to have to. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to have to. And I think where Ted Cruz really lost it to Donald Trump was when Carly did the big fall and Ted Cruz didn't help her up. By the way, you got to see it, folks. Folks, if you haven't seen it, you have to see that video. the video. Just Google it, Carly Fiorina falls. It is unbelievable. It's like there's a trap door there. I mean, I've never seen anybody go like straight down, except maybe in a magic show.
Whoop.
Yeah, right.
She's campaigning with Lucifer, so he was just showing her the right way home.
Oh, maybe that was it. Right. But she's standing there. She introduces the whole family, and then she turns around and goes, nope, and just disappears.
Drops like a rock.
It's not like she falls over.
Right.
She just
straight down.
Straight down.
I guess she like went to the edge of the stage and just walked off the edge of the stage.
But with both feet at one time. Normally, you would see like one. You know what I mean?
I think it was just one foot, and she just went straight down. I mean, it only takes one to step into nothing.
It is also true, as Donald pointed out, that Ted Cruz did not look her way at all. Didn't make any effort to help her.
No,
Heidi did. Heidi helped her up, right? And anyhow, the video. I think it's emblematic of the entire Cruz campaign.
Yeah, it was exactly
right.
Exactly.
So yesterday it was Carly. Today it'll be Ted Cruz going down that rabbit hole. Indeed, right. Lots coming up here. Arthur Delaney, of course, will join us on a Tuesday, as he does every Tuesday. Igor, that skunk, is out of town today. We'll also jump out to Indiana, get a first-hand report on what we can expect from there, and then we'll have reporters in from Politico, Washington Post, and Huffington Post as well. But first, Peter.
This is the Full Court Press.
All right. Just a couple of other stories making news. Last night, NBA basketball playoffs were happening. There were a couple of big games going on. The Hawks and the Cavaliers starting their series saw the Cavaliers beat the Hawks 104-93. That now makes 9-0 is the record that the Hawks or the Cavaliers have against the Hawks in the playoffs. They are now up 1-0 in that particular series. And the Thunder and the Spurs had their game 2 last night, which saw the Spurs lose 98-97. Interesting tidbit out of that story. The referees after the game said that the Thunder player, Dion Waiters, actually committed a pretty serious foul at the end of the game that they did not call. And we apologize for that, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't change the aspect of the game.
But Manu Ginobili of the Spurs also stepped over the line.
Yes. It was not. Look, the Thunder. I think the Thunder won.
But it was a difficult. It was a difficult.
It was a difficult thing. But that now ties that series 1 game apiece. I don't know if you've noticed this, Bill, but gas prices are going up. According to AAA, the average gallon of gas around the country is now $2.22. That is up 8 cents over the past week. Now, gas prices have been lower than usual. In fact, in June of 2014, the national average was $3.70. Remember those days?
Yeah.
Well, it's leveled out a lot, but they're saying that the gas will go up even more. They're saying it could go up as much to 8 to 10 cents per gallon in the next week, so get ready.
I don't want to hear anybody complaining about gas prices.
I'm not complaining. I'm just reporting.
I don't want anybody complaining about it. They've been very, very, very low, and they're never high enough. That's why we buy these big gas guzzlers.
Always remember that it was just 2 years ago that it was almost $4 a gallon for the national average.
Right.
So.
And you're going to win the Powerball, Bill, so you won't have to worry about it.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
None of this matters because you're going to win the Powerball. Exactly. And in Northwest England, there was a family that raised
a Tesla.
That's right. In Northwest England, there's a family that raises sheepdogs. They raise sheepdogs, and then they sell them to farmers. They train them, and then they sell them to farmers to help with their herd. So there was one dog named Perro that was raised by a family in Northwest England. They sold the dog to a farm who had been working there for 4 weeks. But Perro had finally had enough. He wanted to go back home where he was born with the family that raised him and trained him. So he went home. 240 miles across Wales all the way back home. It took him 12 days, and as the family was settling in for the night, they heard a barking at the front door, and they opened it up, and there was the dog. Perro was there.
Amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is, right.
They're saying they have no idea how it happened. They're asking for people to come forward and say, like, if you helped him at all, or however, 240 miles away this dog was, and he made it all the way back home. They said that they've decided to keep him as a pet. They're not going to give him out or sell him again as a farm.
I would hope so.
Yeah. Perro the dog. That's pretty cool, right? Oh, I just saw Carly fall off the stage again.
I couldn't make it.
No.
Indeed.
The dog didn't even use Waze.
All right, so so here we go. I got a big question for you today. I have been having this debate with so many friends and so many Democrats, and so we got to have it out today. And I feel so strongly about this. And here's the question. The question is, should Democrats hold open primaries or closed primaries? Open or closed? That's an easy question to get your hands around, get your arms around, and to answer. It's either open primary, yes or no. Now, Indiana happens to be an open primary today, and so this is a good time to talk about it. Well, I thought it would be a good day to talk about it. And, I must also say, first of all, I am totally 100% for open primaries. Now, so this is a question too, and I don't assume everybody watching or everybody listening is a Democrat. So this is mainly a question for Democrats. It's also a question for Republicans. I think it's a question for our democracy. And we're talking about in the primary. Obviously, the general elections are open. But in the primary, should they be open? I feel very strongly that they should be. We'll talk about why. But I do want to add that I feel that way not just because I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter. It is true that Bernie Sanders does better in open primaries because he does appeal to independents and to first-time voters who may not have registered 6 months ago. Thank you, right? Not everybody is political junkies like the rest of us who think nothing but politics and would know 6 months ahead of a primary, oh, my God, I have to register. No, a lot of people don't think about it until the primary gets heated up, and then they're excited about a candidate, then they want to go out and vote.
I can tell you a quick story about this. My youngest son, his best friend, his dad, and he and I talk all the time. He's not from Maryland, where I live, and he wasn't sure who he was going to vote for until literally, we have this conversation several times. He wasn't sure who he was going to vote for until probably the last 3 weeks, right? And he was going to vote for Bernie Sanders. And so he went up there to go vote, and I saw him later on in the day on election day, and I said, how'd it go? Did you vote for Bernie? He said, actually, I'm registered unaffiliated, and I showed up, and I wasn't able to vote. I didn't
closed primary.
It was a closed primary.
Closed primary, right. And so anyhow, even if I run out of Bernie Sanders supporter, I would still be for an open primary. And I say this as a lifelong Democrat, and I say this as a former Democratic candidate for statewide office in California, and I say this as the former chair of the California Democratic Party. So I will match my Democratic credentials against anybody, right? I think there should be open primaries. So the question, and by the way, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the chair of the Democratic Party today, is quoted in The Hill. She says, if it were up to me, I would exclude independents from Democratic primaries. I think that is the most close-minded statement I can imagine. And she is absolutely dead wrong. Tell me, you agree with me or you agree with Debbie? 866-55-PRESS. Let's get it out, okay? Now, people like the chair of the Democratic Party, and I love her, their thinking is this. We're a private party. And if you want to vote in our party, then you have to join our party, and you have to be a member of our party. We're an exclusive club. That's not what the Democratic Party should be all about. The Democratic Party should be open. It should be open to anybody who wants to come in. We should embrace people who want to vote for our candidates. We should reach out and encourage them to come in and vote for our candidates. I don't want a closed party, a closed club. My thing is, you want a private club, an exclusive club? Join the Lions Club. Join the Rotary Club. Go downtown Washington, join the Metropolitan Club, and see if you can get in there, right? I mean, you have to have 3 people sponsor you, and you have to probably pay $10,000. That's not the Democratic Party. No.
Let me ask you a question. What are the reasons?
I don't belong, by the way, to a private club.
I know.
From the time, I had enough money to do it, like early on, I refused to join any country club.
Yeah.
I
like
would
that.
never do it.
Let me ask you this.
Hate 'em.
What's the reasoning behind having a closed-off primary? Well, for people who are for it.
Here's what they say is that we are Democrats, and we Democrats only. We should only be the only ones who choose our nominees. We don't want these outsiders coming in and choosing who's going to run for our party. But here's the deal. So number one, I think it's just totally anti-democratic. Number two, let's be practical. We need independents to win the general election. Here's what Gallup did this poll last year. There are 41% of Americans today say they're independents. 30% say they're Democrats, and 26% say they're Republicans. In other words, Democrats cannot win the presidency without independents. We need them in November. And if we need independents in November, if we want them to love us in November, we have to show them a little love in April or May. It's as simple as that. It is so self-centered, so snooty, and so snobby, and so elitist to think that of a political party, I think, as a private, exclusive club. This is my country club. Yeah, right? I even have a little monogram on my shirt, right? The Congressional Country Club. Yeah, no, that's not the Democratic Party. Open primaries, yes or no? Absolutely, and the sooner the better. And if I were Bernie Sanders, I would make that one of my demands as part of the political revolution. 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it. I want your vote. Agree with me or agree with Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz?
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
On opening body bags after Typhoon Haiyan. I can only imagine it like unearthing a scab. Zipper breaks open one by one. Mothers trying to dig through themselves an umbilical cord to lend life to a limp ghost. There is not enough relief here to hide the scent of what this child used to be. The coconut trees are not high enough to see over the inside out that was made here. Bags do not have the honor of being called burial plots. Churches ain't supposed to be mausoleums. Tacloban was morphed into ground zero. And I watch this while it snows in Madison, Wisconsin, a place where it's easier to live as a rodent than it is to be a colored person. This place drowns my people in a different way. I inhabit both places like jigsaw corpse trying to find itself whole. These brown boys in Tacloban aren't my cousins, but I want to carry them to safety. These brown girls in Tacloban aren't my daughters, but I want to tell them they're still growing after this choking, but I'm still an ocean away, a language farther from root, a skin tone lighter than the sand, born there, raised here, home nowhere. To watch this storm is a sorry excuse for mourning. It is to need the sun desperately. It is to realize that your body is in one country while your grief is in another. To look at your house, walk to a river, and come back to no house is to be Filipino. To look at your motherland hurting from a TV screen is to be Filipino American. To watch my islands through the blue eyes of Anderson Cooper is the most American I have ever felt, but I still cry for them, and I still pray for them because God tried to make them Atlantis before they were ready to be a myth just yet, because rebuilding is the Filipinos' most intrinsic muscle memory, but most painful trauma, because relief is just a word whose Tagalog translation I don't even know, because this poem is all I can give for my country, bleeding in salt water. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord keeps trying to drown us. Hallowed be thy bodies. Thy kingdom come down in waves and winds on earth as it is destroyed. Take us this day our daily rations and forgive those who have tried to kill us as we forgive those who have tried to kill us. Holy Mary, Mother of God, Pray for us whose skin has always meant sin now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 26 minutes after the hour. Democrats have a big decision to make, I think. We've shown this year, we've seen this year, that a lot more people turn out to vote in an open primary than in a closed primary. Do you think every primary should be an open one? Should we encourage people to come in? Here's what I know a lot of people, some of you may say, well, no, if we do that, then Republicans can switch over and vote for Democrats, or Democrats could go over and switch and vote for Republicans. You know what? Not many people are going to do that. That's just, I think, a phony threat. Or the real reason is, do we want to be an embracing open party, or do we want to be a closed club like a country club? Jessica's up in Caribou, Maine. Hello, Jessica. What do you think?
This one we disagree on.
All right. Why?
I was the convener for the caucus. Now, in Maine, we have the beauty of being able to register, same-day registration.
By the way, that's also a good idea. That's a great idea.
We had a lot of independents come in who registered as Democrats for the thing and then walked out the door and took their names right off the polling, the Democratic roll, and that's fine. But I don't think of it as an exclusive club, but hey, if you want to have a Democrat, if you want to say who the Democrat is going to be for the nominee, then you should, you should be taking advantage. We have a new puppy. Her name's Pauline. She looks like one.
What's her name?
Pauline.
Pauline?
The bloodhound.
Oh.
It's the state dog of North Carolina.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
so we
good.
need her Pauline.
Oh,
but
Pauline.
anyway,
Okay.
I really think that, if you're going to
But you know what?
be processed,
Yeah.
you
Jessica,
join the
wait. We're
party.
just out of time here. Just got to say, just quick response. When those people come in, it's like you're coming into your home. You say, welcome, welcome. So good to have you here. Yeah, now hang around. Good. We welcome you. You don't throw them away. You don't slam the door. We're Democrats. Come on.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough. Enough. Enough.
Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, it's 33 minutes after the hour on this Tuesday, May 3rd, big Indiana primary day, which happens to be an open primary. And that's one of the reasons we're talking about the open primary right now. The Bill Press Show coming to you live from Washington, D.C., brought to you today by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. We all live better because of the good work of the men and women of the Teamsters Union under President Jim Hoffa, and you can check out their work at teamster.org. It wouldn't be a Tuesday without Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post, and he is here. He doesn't disappoint. Arthur, how are you?
Good morning. I'm fine.
You know what? We haven't had I don't know why it just occurred to me, but we haven't talked about it at all, is that Ringling Brothers has freed their elephants.
Yeah.
Which is a huge victory for the Humane Society
That's
and
right.
others who've been fighting for that for a long, long time. I love it. And they did their last act, I think it was Sunday, in Providence, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
So your little son, Jack, is never going to be able to see elephants perform in a circus, but that's okay.
I don't remember ever seeing it myself.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think it's important.
I don't think I did either. Yeah.
Well, whoa. You grew
I
up
did.
in Washington, D.C., didn't you?
Yeah.
You know what? Until recently,
They parade them down East Capitol Street.
They used to unload the elephants at RFK Stadium, and they would parade down East Capitol.
Yeah, well, what do the elephants think of that?
Yeah,
Someone
right.
should ask them.
I think we know what the elephants think of that. But I think it's huge. And there was
It's
a
a
story
big deal.
last night where some people have gone around and rescued circus lions as well, and flew them to Africa and have released them in some big park in Africa.
That's the next step, right? I mean,
Yes.
there are other animals that still work for the circus that shouldn't be working for the circus.
Right.
Release the cows and the chickens, too.
Cirque du Soleil said we're going to have circuses and they don't have to have animals there. And look at
Isn't the trapeze the main attraction?
Yeah.
Look how successful
The
they are.
clowns.
Right. All right, Arthur, so you step into the middle of a little controversy here about open versus closed primaries. As a Democrat, I believe we should open our doors in the primaries because we're going to open them up in the general, and we should welcome independents in the primary as well. Do you have an opinion?
Not a strong one, but I'm inclined to agree that open is more small d democratic. And I know that there has been some strategic crossover voting in the occasional open primary state. And these are just anecdotes. It's not clear that it's ever actually really swayed the outcome of one of these states where there's been an open primary. So it doesn't seem like something to worry about too much.
Yeah, I've often heard people say, like, for example, in a Republican primary, okay, that as a Democrat, I'm going to create mischief. I'm going to re-register as a Republican, or I'm going to, in an open primary, I'm going to go in and I'm going to vote for let's say, for Donald Trump.
Right.
Because as a Democrat, I'd rather run against Donald Trump than to. But you know what? I don't think many people do that.
A colleague of mine did that in Virginia. Jason Lincolns voted for Marco Rubio. Just because Marco Rubio's not a nutcase. And of course, Marco Rubio is no longer a candidate and the nutcase is winning. So that didn't work.
But I think it speaks well to the Democratic Party that we, and particularly I think it's a very practical and strategic solution to some of the problems the Democratic Party has had about winning, is to welcome independents because there are more independents than there are Democrats. As I mentioned earlier, I just showed you these numbers. 43% of Americans now identify as independents, 30% as Democrats, 26% as Republicans.
So your theory is if these independent voters get in the habit of voting for a Democratic candidate, that will be beneficial for Democrats
I say
in a general election.
If we welcome them in April or May, they are more likely to vote with us in November. All right, let's go to the phones. Jim in Minneapolis. What do you say, Jim? Hi.
I say open primaries. We have open primaries in Minnesota.
Yes.
And what we do is when you get your ballot, you can vote either way. But if you vote for both parties, the ballot's spoiled and it's thrown away. And I think that Bernie Sanders would have won if it'd be open primaries across the country. And I believe that we shut the door. We just slammed the door in the face of a whole lot of new people that wanted to be involved in the system this year. And I think they're probably very discouraged.
Yeah, and look at New York, for example. In New York, there were 3 million people who were disenfranchised. It's an excellent point, Jim. Thank you. 3 million people disenfranchised because they had not registered in last October. Now, last October, a lot of people, believe it or not, were not thinking about the primary in April. You know what I mean? There are people who have, maybe more important things to think about.
Disenfranchised is a tough word for that situation.
Well, they couldn't vote. What's the other word?
Would you do this before you get rid of the Electoral College?
Oh, well, that's...
Or the delegates?
No, I would certainly get rid of the Electoral College in a heartbeat. But there are other reforms as well. We're just talking about one of them right now. I mean, I do think that people should be able to register to vote on Election Day. And I think there should be early voting, 2 or 3 weeks. And by the way, another day we'll talk about getting rid of caucuses because I think they do, in effect, disenfranchise some people, too. Right now, we're just talking about open primaries. I don't want to get into that whole can of worms here. Danny in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Hi, Danny.
Hello, Bill.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you, you are spot on. Great minds think alike because I'm telling you, as a Vietnam veteran, everybody should have the right to say who they want to run. It doesn't matter. I am a Democrat like you, but I believe that everybody should be able to say who's going to run in the election. And the main thing I want to say, Bill, is that it's insane that these primaries are spread out over months. They should all be held within a couple-week period at the most so that everybody gets a chance. By the time we get to California, it's like 99% decided. That's crazy, Bill,
Yeah, I know. Hey, you're not telling me anything as a Californian. Yeah, I mean, I still want my vote to count, and usually it never does. This year, it might still a little bit.
If we could at least start with a state that was a little more representative of the country instead of Iowa.
That's another reform, Arthur.
Yeah.
Yes, let's add that to the list.
Talk about distorting politics weirdly.
Yeah. You know what I think the best solution to that I've ever heard is to have regional primaries, and they switch so that it's not always the Northeast. Maybe it's the Southwest one year, but group states together.
Yeah.
Have regional primaries, much more reflective, much more of the diversity of this country and the geography of this country, rather than stick with Iowa and New Hampshire. I mean, that's just...
Great point by Danny.
Makes no sense at all. All right, Danny. Mim is calling from up in Stony Brook, New York. Hi, Mim.
Hey, Bill. Listen, I think we should have open primaries. I think we should have a National Voter Act. I think we should get rid of Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I think she's done the worst she could for the Democratic Party. She's rigged this election. I'm so mad. Bernie has brought so many new voters into the process, and half of them can't vote. It's a shame. It's a national scandal.
Now, what do you mean by this National Voter Act?
Well, I think there should be an act that regularizes voting across the country.
Oh, I see.
All the same rules, all the same open days, everything. Like there's Christmas and Easter. Why not?
Well, no, it's a good point because the rules do change from state to state. And I mean, some states, I think, are much more small d, democratic.
And some states are throwing up...
than others. I was just going to say, New York, somebody, Errol Lewis, right? Who is often on CNN. He was on our show right after the New York primary, I think. And he said that among the 50 states, in terms of open voting and fair voting, New York ranks like 46 out of 50. New York!
And not to mention the voter ID laws coming into effect that are explicitly designed to restrict voting by Democrats.
Hey, you're onto something, Mim. All right. I think we, in the last 45 minutes, have basically reformed the entire American voting process. And now, appreciate the calls, appreciate the comments. We even got Arthur to weigh in here. Now, Arthur, this is a big day. Well, tomorrow, President Obama goes to
Flint,
Michigan.
Yes.
I know. Tell us all about it when we come back here. It's the Bill Press Show, 866-55-PRESS. President Obama going out there. He's even going to... shake hands with Rick Schneider. I'm not sure it's going to be any more than that. We'll get into it with Arthur Delaney. Your call's welcome at 866-55-PRESS.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
For my 6th birthday, my grandpa gave me a Rubik's Cube. I'll always be able to remember its edges, hold it in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I remember him telling me about it. How Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489,856,000 possibilities. He told me it can be really confusing sometimes. But to look at the center squares as a reminder of what color each side should be. Shift. We're celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary. He and Grandma are dancing a dance that only fragile legs and wrinkled hands know how to. That type of happiness took him 70 years to earn. The white side of the cube is solved. Shift. He tells me about how he met Grandma. His college friends had a sunset picnic. She was there, as beautiful as an unsolved puzzle. She was a red-headed scramble on an orange tile sky. Shift. The walls of the hospital are blue. The nurses explain that his memories had become jumbled. Strangers in family portraits, pictures with mismatched faces. Alzheimer's has made his mind into a Rubik's Cube. Shift. He's a highway patrolman. His car is white. No, it's blue. He worked there for 30 years. Some nights he still does. Time is a complicated algorithm. Shift. The pills he holds are yellow and red and green. The weight of their color causes his hand to drop. I try to shift his tiles back into place, but people don't have center squares. His mind is a hospital bed divided by 0. Shift, my sister's wedding is white, but he doesn't know why. Shift, World War II is every color. The South Pacific is blue. The islands are green. There is so much red. Shift, grandpa, table, cube, name, scramble, California, guitar, grapefruit highway, wedding bell, war, stick shift rifles, South Pacific mirrors, shift, 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 shift. The temperature of his hands is blue. Death is colorless. I will always remember his edges. Hold him in my hands. Heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I was unable to attend his funeral. I never found out the algorithm to solve him. A Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion possibilities. A casket only has one.
Help keep all the presidential candidates straight with your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, you got it 14 minutes now before the top of the hour. Believe it or not, Igor Volsky is out of town today.
What?
Igor out of town.
On a Tuesday.
On a
We're
Tuesday.
going to have to review his contract.
Yeah, I mean, how dare he? But he's in Colorado. So we're going to jump out to Indiana at the top of the next hour and talk to a leading reporter out there at WIBC about the Indiana primary. And yeah, Arthur, President Obama going to Flint. A little late getting to Flint, no?
Yes. Now, he had been in Detroit when the Flint water crisis was a little fresher in the news.
Yeah.
And
Remember,
that was sort of his...
And we thought he might go down to Flint, but he didn't.
He did not.
Yeah.
But he's going in response to a letter he got from an 8-year-old girl who had traveled to Washington for the congressional hearings where the governor of Michigan, Rick Snyder, was grilled and told to resign by Democrats. And he responded to that letter saying, I'm sorry I missed you, but I'd like to meet you in Flint.
And what's it going to do there? Do we know?
We don't know yet. Now, one ingredient of this that's been pretty interesting is Rick Snyder, when the White House announced this, was like, the Snyder administration said, oh, well, he's pretty busy. He wasn't going to be in Flint that day.
Snyder was too busy to meet the president.
Which was very surprising because Snyder has tried so hard to rehabilitate his image to seem reasonable, to admit mistakes. Wouldn't he just at least shake hands with the president?
Right.
And so now that is what they have decided they will at least do.
So he will greet the president on the tarmac. We're not sure that they're going to have any private time or anything. Right?
No, but they said we're still working on it. If I were Rick Snyder, I would be trying to get a meeting.
I'd be like Chris Christie. I'd give him a big hug.
Well, what makes this a little more complicated is that there is this dual state and federal water regulatory oversight, and Snyder has really emphasized the screw-ups by the EPA.
Of which there were a lot.
Yes, very significant ones, and the EPA never admitted them. So the Obama administration, I guess, can't now be like, oh, yeah, we blew it too, because the director of the EPA also was grilled before a congressional committee and said, we didn't do nothing wrong.
All right, here's a big question. Is President Obama going to drink the water?
They were asked that, and they didn't say. But you've got to imagine the Secret Service is like, no.
Well,
the Secret Service agent would dive and slap the glass of water out of Obama's hand. Or I guess chug it himself.
But should he drink maybe the filtered water or something? It seems to me
that's what Rick Snyder's doing.
Yeah, right.
A gesture of...
I mean, in theory.
Yeah.
I don't believe he's still drinking it. But
no, he filled up some more jugs yesterday, so at least he's making it look like he is.
I mean, I think it would be an important symbol, maybe, or really, if the president did have a glass of water from a filtered
Yes,
system.
The EPA
home. Stop
says
at somebody's house.
the EPA says the filters
Pardon
work.
me, can I have a glass of water?
Yeah. You know what?
Knock on the door.
It would be consistent with how we reacted to Ebola, for instance, where the science said you're not going to get Ebola from somebody just because they were in West Africa. And so these doctors came back, and he had them at the White House and hugged them.
Right.
And that was something that people like Chris Christie were peeing their pants about, basically imprisoning people who'd been volunteering in Africa. So the president is willing to be demonstrative on some things. I am now intrigued by the question of whether he'll drink the water.
You have also written that Americans are as worried about bad water as heroin.
Oh, yeah. The survey asked people to say, how worried are you about this and that? And the bad drinking water was up there with heroin, behind only cancer as a really serious public health problem.
Is that because of Flint, do you think?
That's what the survey people figure. Now, they didn't ask about bad water like a year ago, so they can't say if it went up. But the surveys do also show that more and more people are paying attention to the Flint water crisis, and I guess through that water.
It makes sense. I mean, I think if you're a parent and you hear about the serious health problems forever as a result of drinking leaded water, right?
I don't know.
I think, well, how safe is my water, right?
Well, I hope that's what people think, but I worry that a lot of folks just assume, well, this is a uniquely evil screw up by the Republicans in Michigan, and only this poor community can have this kind of problem, when in fact anywhere can have essentially the same problem if you're talking about lead, and lead is the worst thing about the Flint water crisis.
All right, now a little later in this program, toward the end of the program today, we're going to be talking to your boss, the Washington bureau chief of the Huffington Post, Ryan Grimm.
Brawlin' Ryan.
Who is in the news because there was a little altercation Saturday night at the MSNBC after the White House Correspondents' Dinner Party with Ryan and a producer for Fox News. Right.
A personality, Fox News guy.
Fox News, right. He's Bill O'Reilly's reporter on this.
I saw Ryan the next morning. No black eyes.
I was going to say,
Did he have?
There was no evidence that anything had happened on his person.
Okay. So has Ariana scheduled any anger management classes at the at the bureau?
I saw her too, and I didn't ask. I thought that would be awkward, right? No, we already have like yoga and stuff and nap rooms, so I don't see why we would need additional.
I need a punching bag,
calming and soothing.
Yeah, we've got a gym.
Some people get
basement.
Some people get their stress out in different ways. You could sleep it off, right? You could do it through yoga, or you could.
Ryan didn't punch anybody.
I know.
He didn't.
I know.
The Fox guy is the one who made it physical, and Ryan was doing what the Fox guy does, which is annoyingly film him.
Yeah, right.
He didn't go tussle with him.
Ryan posted on Huffington Post the entire video from the cell phone camera,
so you can see, right?
Which was pretty interesting. It's like a 7-minute exchange, and it's riveting. It really is, because I'm waiting. You could see it start to escalate.
Well, the last 3 minutes, it's just a black screen because the phone's in the guy's pocket.
Well, all I'm glad is I am glad it was Ryan Grimm and not you, Arthur.
Me too.
All right. Thank you, man. Thanks for coming in. Always good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll be right back.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Every day when I was 5, my older sister would play teacher. Her students were me, my stuffed rabbit, and an American Girl doll. She'd line us up at the end of the bed and teach us whatever she'd learned in school that day. Now she teaches ESL at an elementary school in Boston, and every week she tells me stories about her students. Anna does not know how to read in Spanish, much less English, but she still wants to be a writer when she grows up. Juan chooses to stay inside and study at recess so that one day he'll be able to teach his own brother. These kids are good organs in a sick body. In 2001, No Child Left Behind gutted bilingual education. Students who have been in the country for 1 year are now expected to perform at grade level on standardized English tests. My sister is not allowed to instruct them in Spanish. If the kids don't jump high enough, the school loses money. Improving a school by picking its pockets is like tuning a guitar by ripping off the strings. Learning to read in a new language before you can even read in your own is like learning to walk while a pit bull is chasing you. Like learning to sing with the conductor's fist down your throat. This year for my sister's birthday, I got books for her students. A poem on one page in Spanish, the next in English. She is not allowed to help them read the first. Their heritage is a banned book. Learning to read in a new language when you can't even read in your own is like trying to heal a burn victim by drowning them. We are telling these children who have spent their whole lives in the deep end that they'll learn how to swim if they just float out a little farther. In the 1980s, American slaughterhouses began building corrals in curves so no animals could see the blood at the end of the tracks. This is how we kept them moving forward. In 2001, we began building the hallways of our schools in curves. This is how we keep them moving forward. You never learn, you fail the test. You never learn, you fail the test. You never learn, you drop out. I know. I am lucky enough to be one of the winners of this game. I was handed a head start and a rule book in my own tongue, but the winners of a rigged game should not get to write the rules. On the television, some senator preaches that throwing money at an urban school is like feeding caviar to your dog. They just won't know how to appreciate it. After all, if these parents can't take care of their own children, why should we? Well, tell that to Anna, who has my sister translate newsletters aloud to her father because he too was never taught how to read. Tell that to Juan, whose mother and baby brother are still in Guatemala, whose father works 3 jobs. My sister tells me school is the most stable place in these kids' lives. She has been a teacher since she was smaller than they are. But since when does being a teacher mean having to swear not to help? Since when does being a teacher mean having your hands tied while the schoolhouse burns to the ground? We are leading these children along a track built in circles as their lungs fill with smoke, telling them it is their fault. They can't find a way out.
Dylan Garrity from Slam MN.
WIBC in Indianapolis.
We know that Hillary Clinton loves hot sauce.
Yes,
right?
she carries it around.
She loves it. She carries it with her. In fact, one aide for Hillary Clinton said that they have stocked her entire New York headquarters with a specific hot sauce. Right? She says she likes to carry sriracha, but there's a new sauce that they have from a company called the Hot Sauce Boss. They are the only hot sauce with low sodium and no vinegar, which, again, I don't know. I think you got to have vinegar to have it be like a proper good hot sauce. But they have a couple different kinds, including spicy honey, guava, mango, coconut, and spicy Kush lime.
The most hot sauce I ever saw in one place was in Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, yeah?
In that market, man.
Oh, yeah. They got it
Lots of
stocked up
coming
there.
All right. Hey, we're full of hot sauce today.
Is
We're
the
just getting
Bill Press
started.
Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right, guys, I want to take the last part of the day to change our focus and talk a little bit about water. There's rivers, there's lakes, there's huge oceans. You get thirsty, you just go and you get some water, right? We rely on rain for our water. We even rely on snow. But what if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. I want you to tell your parents, your friends, your neighbors, how important it is to save water. It's up to you guys to save the planet. All right? What if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. It's up to you guys to save the planet. Hi, I'm Mark LaFleur, and I produced the short film you just watched called Aqua Force. California is experiencing one of the worst droughts it's ever had, and now, more than ever, it's important for everyone to do their part to help conserve water. The reason I made this film is because I wanted to make something fun and informative that would get people talking about the California drought. Obviously, this is an important issue because we have a limited amount of clean drinking water. I think it was very important to let people know, especially young people, that this is an important resource, maybe our most important resource, and it's something that we can't take for granted and we certainly can't waste. I really wanted this to be something that children would respond to. The kind of thing that any kid anywhere in the world, no matter what language they speak, could understand the story and be entertained by it and leave it knowing that this is something important, that if they didn't already know about this, that it's now going to be a part of the way that
they think about water, the way that they live life, and that it's something that they'll share with their friends. The fact that they watch this video once or twice and they immediately understand that water is important, that's it. That was the whole point of this thing, to get it into the conversation, to make it something that kids are thinking about, talking about, that they're aware of, and that they know is important. This project was self-funded, so we relied on the support of our community to make it happen. It was pretty amazing to just have our neighbors, our friends, and our coworkers come together and volunteer their time and their homes and their kids to make this thing happen. Thanks for checking out the video. Keep the Aqua Force going, and thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All eyes on Indiana. Can Ted Cruz derail Donald Trump? Can Bernie Sanders get back in the win column? Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Bill Press Show. This Tuesday, May 3rd, another big day in the primary season. Good to have you with us as we reach out to you on your local progressive talk radio station and on Free Speech TV nationwide. Look forward to hearing from you what you think about this big primary day or other topics in the news at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show, on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. Team Press in place with Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson.
Bill, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Ray Rogers here to take your calls. Remember that toll-free number, 866-55-PRESS, and Cyprian Bolding, our videographer, keeping us looking good on Free Speech TV and worldwide on a video stream. TawkrTV, youtube.com/Talker, TAWKR-TV. Larry Wilmore returned to the air last night. He kept his day job, by the way, right? And still a lot of controversy spreading around his comments at the White House Correspondents' Dinner Saturday night, including his use of the N-word, or calling President Obama the N-word, although he used instead of as if that makes a difference. So to welcome him back, he had an actor who's playing Donald Trump praising him for such incendiary remarks.
You slayed them, and I haven't seen a black destroy like that since the Baltimore riots. I mean, you left that room like a CVS. You really did. Unbelievable.
No. Hold on a second. Now, first of all, I was just joking. I did it in the spirit of a roast. I mean, it was all in good fun, you know.
Look, this is the big leagues, Larry. Sometimes you have to get your hands dirty, but you're inciting violence with your rhetoric. I'm so proud of you.
Wait. What?
Edgy to the very end. Yeah. We'll be talking about that performance for a long time. Not as bad as Don Imus was years and years ago, but not great either. All right, here we go. We got a lot going on. We're going to jump out to Indianapolis and get the latest on this Indiana primary. What can we expect today from Ray Steele, digital news editor out at 93 WIBC, right here at the top of the hour. Burgess Everett from Politico joins us at the half hour. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. You think that the senators here in Washington aren't doing a lot of work? Well, you would be right. Politico reports that this year's Senate is actually looking to spend the least amount of time in the Senate in more than 60 years. They are set to spend 124 days in session. If you do the math, that averages out to be a 2.9-day work week. So not even a 3-day work week for the United States Senate. Again, like I said, Politico pointing out this would be the least amount of time spent in the Senate in more than 60 years.
I'll come back to my proposal that we pay them, proportionate to the amount of hours that they put in.
Things would change here pretty quickly, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Yeah, they would make minimum wage.
1996 saw Space Jam, the partially animated movie starring Michael Jordan, and we found out yesterday, officially, we are getting a sequel. It's going to star LeBron James, obviously, instead of Michael Jordan. It's going to be directed and written by Justin Lin, Andrew Dodge, and Alfred Botello. They are the team behind Fast and Furious 6 and Star Trek Beyond. So not sure when exactly we're going to see this hit, but it is going to happen.
We'll see a whole new generation of NBA stars alongside him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that we need this, but
I'll watch it.
I'll probably go see it. Yeah, I mean, Space Jam is a big deal, to people who grew up watching basketball.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know. I can't get too excited about this. I can't maybe do things like this. And we mentioned Larry Wilmore. One of the big parts of his speech was his roast was about Ted Cruz being the Zodiac Killer. For the first time, the Cruz campaign has actually addressed rumors that he is the Zodiac Killer. This came in the form of his wife, Heidi Cruz. She was asked by Yahoo News about whether or not her husband is the Zodiac Killer, and she said, quote, "Well, I've been married to him for 15 years, and I know pretty well who he is, so it doesn't bother me at all. There's a lot of garbage out there," end quote. Which, by the way, is not a denial.
I was just going to say she didn't answer the question.
It is not a denial.
No, it is not. She knows, right. All right. Thank you, Peter. Well, yes, the two leading candidates, sorry, John Kasich, on the Republican side yesterday, both had things to say about Indiana, today's primary. Ted Cruz, he is working it as hard as he can.
We are competing hard right up until the moment that the ballots close here in Indiana.
And Donald Trump saying, hey, if I get it today, it's all over, baby.
Honestly, if we win Indiana, it's over. It's over. They're finished. They're gone.
So what is going to happen in Indiana? Ray Steele is the digital news editor for 93 WIBC in Indianapolis, joining us on our newsline this morning. Hey, Ray, good to have you with us.
Thank you, Bill. Good to be here.
Now, before we get to Indiana, I have to ask you the most important question. We understand that you had some experience working with a young Peter Ogburn a few years ago down in Charleston.
He might have had a different name back then. I'm not sure. I know that we had a great time down in Charleston, none of which Peter remembers today, I'm fairly certain.
No comment.
My question is, was he as big a pain in the ass back then as he is today?
Fortunately, I did not have to work directly with him, so I cannot officially, on the record, answer that question.
I appreciate that, Ray. That's a perfect answer.
I sort of think you guys talked ahead of time about this.
No collusion at all.
All right. So, Ray, let's talk first on the Republican side. Ted Cruz says this is it. This is where we're going to draw the line. John Kasich got out of the way so Ted Cruz could finish Donald Trump off in Indianapolis. Likely to happen?
That is as big a question as has been asked. This is as much of a toss-up, I think, as we have had in a primary in some time.
Really?
Yes, I did. We had this poll. We had conflicting polls. We had one poll come out that had Ted Cruz up by a fairly large margin over Donald Trump, and then we had the NBC News Wall Street Journal poll come out that had Trump with a huge lead. The momentum seems to be favoring Trump, and I'll be honest, nobody expected Donald Trump to come into this primary and campaign and not make any, I would say, huge errors or huge gaffes, at least nothing any worse than what he has said leading up to now at various campaign rallies. And Ted Cruz, on the other hand, has come in and has made what a lot of folks, even some who are favoring Ted Cruz, he's made a lot of moves that have people scratching their heads, whether it was going ahead and naming Carly Fiorina his prospective running mate, whether it was making public this alliance with John Kasich to stop Trump no matter what, sending Kasich out of the state where he would have been fairly competitive in all likelihood. It'd be interesting to see whether that backfires on him in the end, because the momentum was seemingly shifting toward Cruz, and then they made all of these moves, and the feeling was, even among Cruz supporters, that it kind of stopped, it kind of stalled. Now, to be sure, Cruz and Carly are working the state hard, They are, we believe, the only candidates from either party who are campaigning in Indiana and are staying all day in Indiana. So Cruz is trying to work for every last vote, but then again, as we have seen with the polls, he's going to need every last vote to have any shot.
Well, it was also on your station that Governor Mike Pence gave his just ringing endorsement of Ted Cruz. It was really difficult for those of us not in the state to figure out whom he was endorsing, Donald Trump or Ted Cruz, by his comments. What impact will Pence's endorsement have, if any?
If I had to guess, if I were a betting man, none. And that's not necessarily because of the tone of the endorsement, which I don't think that's the impact that Ted Cruz was looking for, needless to say.
I don't think so either, right.
But at the same time, there's a big feeling, and I don't know if any of our sources have confirmed this with our various reporters here at 93 WIBC. A lot of pressure was put on Governor Pence to get involved in the race. I don't think he wanted to get involved because he is involved in a tough re-election campaign of his own. He doesn't have a primary opponent, but neither does his Democratic opponent, John Gregg. And that same NBC News Wall Street Journal poll showed his favorable-unfavorable at 43-43 within the state right now. Wow. He's got his work cut out for him in his own state, which is probably why he took the tone he did in praising Donald Trump so effusively before declaring that. Notice he didn't use the word endorse.
No.
He simply said he would vote
He
for
was going to
Ted
vote
Cruz.
for Ted Cruz, exactly. Now, on the Democratic side, Bernie Sanders has really been working the state. Hillary Clinton there, but not as much as Bernie. And the latest poll, that same poll you referred to showing Donald Trump ahead, showed by 15, showed Hillary ahead by 4, I think basically a statistical tie. Any read on the Democratic side?
The Democratic side could go either way, and I think at this point, due to the delegate count, that's why you don't see Hillary Clinton in the state today. The last time that she was here was on Sunday when she was in Indianapolis. Bernie Sanders had another huge rally, as all of his rallies seem to be huge, downtown Indianapolis, right on Monument Circle last night. In the drizzle, still turned out the massive crowds that have followed Bernie Sanders all across the country. But whether that turns into a win at the polls, we'll just have to see, because as has been the case in many states, the crowds come out for Mr. Sanders, but when it comes time to vote, a lot of the times those votes end up going to Hillary Clinton. And I think ultimately, even if he does pull out Indiana, obviously the math is not in his favor for the nomination right now.
But Indiana, on that point, Indiana is an open primary, correct?
Yes, it is.
So independents could, and Bernie has won so far, every open primary where independents can actually vote for either Democrats or Republicans.
Yes, you declare which ballot you want before you go cast your vote. You can ask for a Democratic ballot or a Republican ballot. Now, when it came to early voting, and not this is necessarily an indicator of what's happening today, but there were more people requesting the Republican ballot than the Democratic ballot for early voting across the state. Some 210,000 early votes cast in both presidential primary contests. So I don't know if that's going to be an indicator today as to how the votes go, but it's a situation that we've seen across the country. You have a lot of young people, a lot of idealistic people lining up behind Bernie Sanders. You have the establishment of the Democratic Party, Congressman Andre Carson here in Indy, Mayor Joe Hogsett of Indy, all the Democratic mayors around the state lining up behind Hillary Clinton. So, again, the state could go either way. When it comes to the final delegate count, at the end of the night, I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference for Mr. Sanders.
I read an interesting article this morning about if you look where Hillary and Bernie have been focusing their efforts in Indiana as well. Bernie's been, you mentioned he had a big rally in Indianapolis last night, but for the most part, he's been focusing on the college towns, and Hillary focusing on, and with Bill too, Gary and Indianapolis, right, where there's a larger African-American population.
Yes, and Indiana is an interesting dynamic. We're a slowly changing state. Yes, we're still a red state, but the people who are moving to the cities of Indianapolis, or of Indiana rather, whether that's Indy, whether that is some of the outlying areas, the college towns that you mentioned, those are becoming more purple, even some cases more blue. And that's where Hillary Clinton focused her attention. Yes, the college campuses and the unions, too. Bernie Sanders got some big union endorsements here just a few days ago.
The trade issue is a big deal in Indiana, isn't it, because of Carrier? And
yeah, that's gotten a lot of people's attention. Carrier is moving to Mexico. They're moving two facilities to Mexico, in fact, one in Indianapolis, one in Huntington. A total of 2,100 jobs are going to Mexico over the next 3 years. So that's been a big issue, really, with both parties, because Donald Trump has spent a lot of time talking about that, too.
Yeah, good. Well, it's your day in the spotlight here, Ray. We're happy to share it with you, and thank you for taking time to share it with us today. And someday you and I, when you're in Washington or I'm out there, we'll have a beer and we'll swap Peter Ogren stories.
I will be happy to do that, sir. Thank you, Bill.
All right. Thanks, Ray. Thanks so much for joining us. It's WIBC.com, 93 WIBC in Indy, as he calls it.
Indy. There it is.
Here I am struggling through Indianapolis every time. He just calls it Indy. Like Philly, right? All right. You got it. We'll be right back.
Can't catch the entire show? Listen to BP in 3, where we turn 3 hours into 3 minutes. Find it every day at BP Show on Twitter or at BillPressShow.com.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad, as a friend, as a husband,
As a wife.
as an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
for the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 you wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I want to stand up and defend Hillary Clinton. When she was asked about the attacks, Donald Trump's attacks on her, she responded by saying, she's tough enough to take this.
I have a lot of experience dealing with men who sometimes get off the reservation in the way they behave and how they speak.
Yes, the way they behave and the way they speak. Well, speaking, she was certainly talking about Donald Trump. Behaving, I'm not sure whom she was talking about.
Could go a lot of different directions.
We think we know, yeah. But she's gotten a lot of criticism for using that phrase, off the reservation. I think unfairly so. I mean, I know some Native Americans are very, very upset. Well, I'm with them on the Redskins thing, right?
Yeah.
But on this one, that is an old phrase that's been around a long time. And I don't think
I never even associated it with Native Americans, to be perfectly honest.
I didn't either. I mean, I think a little hypersensitive maybe in this case, right?
Yeah.
It's a phrase that's part of the lexicon. It's been used a long time, and it just means, getting out of control, or going too far, or going over the line. And I'm sure that's how she meant it. So in this case, I say, give Hillary a break. Okay, Burgess Everett from Politico.
This
Up
is
next.
the Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
my beauty,
my life.
But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped, and tied.
Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go now, 33 minutes after the hour. It is the Bill Press Show. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, our studio on Capitol Hill, where we're brought to you today by the American Federation of Teachers, the great men and women of the AFT, Teachers of America, making a difference in the classrooms every day. You bet. Under President Randy Weingarten, whom I was visiting with at the White House Correspondents Association dinner on Saturday evening. On that topic, you might check out my column in The Hill today. Peter, we haven't sent it out yet.
Not yet,
maybe
no.
We have. We will soon.
Will.
Or you can check out thehill.com, my column saying it's time to put an end to this silly big White House Correspondents dinner. And have a smaller dinner maybe with just the people who actually do the reporting at the White House and the president and members of his
cabinet.
cabinet.
And you skipped it in solidarity, right?
No, I did go.
He went. He ate the food. He drank the wine.
Burgess Everett joins us from Politico. I guess we'll still let him stay after that snide comment. But here's the deal, and I mentioned this in my column. I belong there. Right. It's those other a-holes that didn't belong there.
When did the celebrity when did that happen? When did it go too far into that zone?
That's a very good question. It happened back in the Reagan years when I forget now which news outlet invited Fawn Hall, who was Ollie North's Butatious assistant, who was the woman who shredded all the documents. He told her to shred any evidence that they'd been sending arms to the Contras in Nicaragua against the law. And Fawn Hall came. She was very much in the news, right? Notorious,
right?
At the time, and I forget what outlet invited her. And from then on, it became the race to see who could get the biggest celebrity.
People trying to one-up each other
Exactly.
every year.
Yeah, right. So, Burgess, good to see you.
Great to see you, Bill.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Sure.
You have been, well, I'm going to ask you first of all, so now we're getting toward the end of this primary season.
Right.
We started out with 5 senators running for president.
Mm-hmm.
Marco Rubio, we have to show Burgess the picture with Rand Paul that we
Yeah, for sure.
Marco Rubio, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham and Bernie Sanders. 3 of them are back.
Right.
I mean, like, are they back?
Yeah, I mean, I would actually say, so of Lindsey Graham, Rand Paul, and Marco Rubio, I would actually say Lindsey Graham seems the most invested still in the presidential race. And perhaps that's because, he never had the highest hopes of advancing in them. But, Rand Paul and Marco Rubio really don't want to talk about the day-to-day punditry. I mean, I think that there's just a little bit of pain there and disappointment. And
so they're sort of like refocusing on their Senate job?
They're very excited about talking about the Senate on a day-to-day basis.
Of course, Marco Rubio is not going to be there that much longer, right?
And that's why he says he's going to squeeze as much out of it as he can. And it's been interesting because he's sounding a little bit more like a parochial senator. He's talking about Zika. He's talking about Puerto Rican crisis.
Yeah.
So, it definitely feels like those two are pretty invested. But Lindsey Graham still seems like he enjoys kind of trying to shift the narrative
Mix it up a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He endorsed Cruz. He's one of only 3 senators. He's kind of walked the plank for Cruz, expecting a bunch of people to follow him, and it didn't happen. And now it's not gonna happen, as far as I can tell. And I don't know what he'll do next, but I bet you'll hear from him as soon as the race changes. If Trump wins Indiana, I bet Lindsey Graham will have something to say about it.
So it's Lindsey Graham and Mike Lee.
And Cory Gardner.
And Cory Gardner have endorsed Ted Cruz, right?
Right.
Okay. Right.
Gardner came last Wednesday, actually, after those crushing losses. So it was surprising to me. I feel like he just felt he had to plant a flag there.
Yeah.
And there's some anti-Trump senators as well. Ben Sasse is the best known of those, who has said he would consider voting for an independent conservative candidate over Trump.
Right. 5 senators out of 100. I doubt there's ever been a time where there have been that many senators in one year running.
So 2008, a bunch, right? Biden, Clinton, Obama, McCain.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I guess
somebody
so.
else? I think there's maybe perhaps another one. But, I mean, it seems like the Senate is just where the presidential prospects come from.
Right. Or governors.
Right.
There were, I think, more governors than senators among the Republicans running this year. Governors and former
Christie,
governors. Now, to a certain extent, they don't have to worry too much about getting back to work in the Senate because the Senate's not getting back to work. I mean, as you reported yesterday, you actually say they're basically taking a sabbatical. They're taking a year off.
Yeah. I mean, so, it depends on who you ask. I mean, and the Republicans, now they're in the majority. First time in 8 years, they're defending their majority. And Harry Reid did a similar move in 2014 where you kind of just, run the clock out a little bit, which is you cut the calendar down, you do the bread and butter items, you're not too entrepreneurial. The big difference is Reid would put up these votes that were sure to fail, raising the minimum wage, pay equity, things like that. They were designed to fail, to use in the campaign. This year, Mitch McConnell, the majority leader, is trying to do the appropriations process, which is the regular order you hear about so much, 12 spending bills, and that's in trouble. So the question is, if that falls apart, would Mitch McConnell cancel more days in session, or would he try to do maybe a criminal justice reform bill? So there's a little bit happening, but yes, the Senate is on pace to work the least amount of days in 60 years, which is a pretty stunning statistic, and that's because they shave off all the Fridays. So they schedule more days than they're actually in. They have not voted on a Friday yet this year.
Weren't you saying, Peter, earlier that it was roughly works down to 2.5 days a week?
2.9 days for a week, if you look at the coming year. That's how it's going to average out.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, they come in on Monday night and leave immediately, and then they're there Tuesday and Wednesday, which are busy days, and then by Thursday around 2:30, they're gone every week. I mean, it's just like a clock.
Okay. And how much have they reduced their salary to reflect the fewer hours that they're working?
That's what we call a gotcha question, Bill. 0%. Yeah. Although you will find lawmakers who return money. It's a separate thing, but they try to save as much money as they can throughout the year and then return it to the taxpayers. This is a big Rand Paul thing that he does.
Oh,
and then, the flip side of that is that the staffers don't make as much money. So.
I thought of it that way. Yeah, right. No, exactly. No, but it's outrageous that they're. But I must say, the House is not doing. I don't know whether you've looked at the House. The House is not doing that much better, right, in terms of workload. What are they doing? Every member that I talk to, Republican or Democrat, I ran into Senator Blunt from Missouri the other night, right here at the little restaurant on 7th Street. And he was complaining to me about the fact that he said, I come back here from Missouri and they don't do anything. I just sit in my office waiting for something to happen. No, he was complaining about his leadership. So
He's in leadership.
Yeah, right. Oh, sorry. Yeah, right. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Sorry, Roy.
Was that off the
blew
record?
Roy's spot, man.
And the difference between the Senate and the House also is like the House, the majority can often do whatever it wants to in as little time as it wants to. The Senate, Marco Rubio is holding up this Mexican ambassador for 6 months. So time matters more in the Senate. But the interesting thing in the House is that they haven't done a budget because they don't think they can pass one. They may try to do one, but that says if you can't get, with the biggest majority in decades, if you can't get a budget through, that speaks to larger problems, which Paul Ryan is probably going to have to confront after a kind of a 6-month honeymoon with the media and his own members.
It looks like we're talking with Burgess Everett, covers the Congress for Politico, here in studio with us. So it looks like at this point that Bernie Sanders will be coming back to the Senate, not going to the White House.
You're going to get some hate tweets for that comment.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a Sanders supporter. I'm saying it looks like right now. It's not impossible. I agree with Bernie. It's not impossible. But today you would have to say that's what it looks like is going to happen. Now, if that happens, it seems to me, as a Sanders supporter, but just looking at it realistically, Bernie's going to have a lot more clout now as a senator than he did before, right? I mean, people are at least going to know who the hell he is.
Well, my question is, and I wonder what you think about this. I mean, Elizabeth Warren was clearly the liberal lion of the Senate a year ago.
Right.
I don't know how the hierarchy rebalanced itself with Bernie Sanders yet. I mean, you could make an argument that they're equally well-known and equally influential at this point, and I'm interested in seeing how that works out.
I think Bernie's surpassed her as the liberal lion or progressive leader of the Senate today. She had her chance and she didn't take it. I wish she had, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a huge fan of hers. I mean, not that she's changed her policies at all. She's still as good on the issues, but I think the fact that Bernie went out there, put his body on the line, and had a response that none of us expected, starting with Bernie and starting with Elizabeth Warren. I think if she knew how deep the support was for a progressive agenda, she might have run in the first place. But so he will be ranking Democrat on the Budget Committee, correct?
Right. And if they win the majority, he could have a chairmanship.
And he could have a chairmanship again, like he had the chairmanship of the Veterans Committee at one time. So, so in terms of being able to push his agenda, he'll be able to get more attention, certainly.
And this is part of this tricky dance going on right now about how does he wind down his campaign, or does he wind down his campaign, and what sort of rhetoric does he use? Because if he plays his cards right, I mean, he can come back to the Senate and be one of the most influential members in the chamber, especially if they get the majority this fall. So people are kind of trying to passively aggressively get him to not be too negative towards his cause.
Well, I'll tell you when he's going to wind down his campaign. Not until after either he wins or after the California primary.
June 7th?
June 7th, because Californians matter. We matter in California, damn it, and we want to vote and have a choice, and we will, thanks to Bernie Sanders. Burgess Everett with us here. When we come back, though, in this reduced schedule of the Senate, will there be an opportunity for a Supreme Court nomination to be considered? 866-55-PRESS. Back with Burgess Everett in just a minute.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Times I've been mistaken for a girl. 1. Ever since I was tall enough to reach the phone perched and mounted against my wall, I was old enough to answer it. And every time I did, I was always greeted by someone on the other end calling me ma'am. And for the longest time, I thought they were saying man because I was cool and hip, man. 2. When entering high school, I found a correlation between girls finding I was cute and long, swishy hair, so I grew my hair out like how optimists never cut their dreams down or how dreamers never trim their hopes short. But this lion's mane became and remained a gender mystery to some store owners asking my girlfriend and I, so, how are you ladies doing tonight? 3. I was always a crier, and with 3 older brothers manlier and tougher than I, wouldn't it be strange to hear shut up or buck up? Uncomfortably familiar like loneliness, hearing stop being a girl was a terrible mantra that I just got used to, like, I will never amount to anything, or I will die alone. 4. Though very far from the truth, my mom, in her traditional ways, believes gay to be synonymous with effeminate. So wouldn't it be odd for her to question my sexuality due to the clothing I wore or how much I spent on appearances? Why don't you go do boy things? How are you going to take care of your wife? 5, when my father found out that sometimes I like looking at boys, he told my mother that he lost a son, and I can't help but think about my sister, who's 6. My mother always complained about having 4 boys and no daughters. 7, my sister was born in 1991, but 8, died 3 days after her birth due to complications. 9, my mother didn't want to have any children after that, but 10, my father said he had a feeling, and I don't know what that feeling was, but I think it was 11, that he wanted to have another daughter. 12, I didn't come out the way they expected. 13, I think I was a failure before I was even conceived. 3, I was always a crier. 14, I was always so mad at myself for being so sensitive. 15, I wasn't okay to play house with the girls. 16, I was never good at cops and robbers. 17, they called roll and said Alexandria. 0, I was a disappointment before I even began. 12, I didn't come out the way they expected. 12, I didn't come out the way they expected. 12, I didn't come out the way they expected. And now, I'm at some variable of a number, wondering if it still makes a difference. My hair is shorter, my voice is a little deeper, and I still might not do things a boy does. Instead, I do things a person does.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
12 minutes before the top of the hour. At the top of the hour, Rebecca Cinderbrand, political news editor for the Washington Post, here in studio with us. Burgess Everett covers Congress for USA. Whoa, no. What is USA Today? Where'd that come from? Whoa. Hello. Politico. And he's here in studio with us. I don't know. Maybe you side.
I don't know. You've been staying in a lot of hotels, getting a lot of USA Today.
Maybe that's it. So, Burgess, President Obama yesterday in one of his interviews with a local TV station, this was WMUR, up in New Hampshire, talking about his Supreme Court nominee.
Nobody's disputing that he's eminently qualified, maybe the most qualified nominee that we've seen before the Senate for a Supreme Court seat.
Merrick Garland, does he have a shot?
I don't think anything's changed in the past month, and you can kind of see like who the president was talking to yesterday. WMUR, it's New Hampshire. What's happening in New Hampshire? There's a Senate race. Kelly Ayotte met with Merrick Garland, but won't move the process along. There's only 2 Republican senators who have called for hearings and votes. That's Mark Kirk of Illinois, who's up for re-election in probably the most difficult race in the country, and Susan Collins of Maine, who is probably the most moderate, centrist, occasionally liberal Republican that's left in the Senate. And a few weeks ago, Jerry Moran of Kansas kind of got off message and said he wanted hearings to begin, and he got phased by the conservative groups, and ever since then there's been no movement at all. I mean, I believe that was about a month ago.
So Mitch McConnell's not going to blink.
He's not. I mean, I think there is something to. I don't think he believes this would cost him the Senate. I think most Republicans believe that the top of the ticket is more important than the Supreme Court nomination. But I do believe Republicans and Mitch McConnell and Chuck Grassley would probably think that would be a worthy trade-off is to kind of gamble on this.
What do they think they gain by not even, some of them won't even meet with the guy, let alone hold a hearing.
Right.
Why don't they just, I mean, I believe that they don't have to vote for him, but they
Right.
ought to do their job, hold a hearing, and then vote against him.
I think if you get the process started, I think you get into territory where he could be confirmed. I mean,
That's what they're afraid of.
Yeah, once he's in front of the cameras in the Judiciary Committee, and he's a sympathetic guy, if he appears as one, you could start to see people buckle. And if you vote against, if there is a Supreme Court vote, that might motivate voters even more. I mean, Kelly Ayotte opposed Merrick Garland, or insert Senator X. You know what I mean? Right now, it's a little more on the periphery. We know about it. We talk about it all the time. I think people are aware there's a vacancy. The average voter, do they know exactly what's going on? I don't think so. That might change. There's going to be millions, tens of millions of dollars of ads run on this in these Senate races. Some of them are already happening now. New Hampshire, tons of ads being spent. So
if some of these Republicans who are up for re-election really start feeling the heat, that's the only way that Mitch McConnell might.
I don't even think that's going to work. I mean, I think they'd have a pass to criticize him or criticize the leadership, but I don't see him moving.
His moving. How about Chuck Grassley himself? I mean, he is up for re-election. He's been around a long time. Probably should have retired this time. He's going for one more shot at it. This could bring him down?
So the Democrats, it seems like on a weekly basis, they have these new polls. Jeff Guerin, who's a Democratic pollster, pretty well-respected guy. So yesterday they have one that show Grassley's, he's still favorably viewed in Iowa, but it's gone from like 60-20 to like 40-30. So the idea is that his popularity is eroding over this. This is the idea that the Democrats are saying. So they've put up a candidate there, this former Lieutenant Governor Patty Judge. I think she's a huge underdog. I don't think, if you look at these people that know what they're talking about when they list what are the Senate races that matter, Iowa is like 15th, most competitive.
Just about a minute left. Final question. So when you talk to these Republican senators, what do they think about the idea that they may have Donald Trump as their nominee? Are they going to be behind Donald Trump, or are they just going to hold their nose and hope it goes away?
I think we're in a situation that is without any sort of historical precedent. I mean, Donald Trump has one endorsement from Jeff Sessions from the Senate, and people are saying like kind of nice things about him, but not really. And Donald Trump's close to locking up the nomination, so I could see the party being split over this. Half the members backing Donald Trump publicly, and the other ones kind of not saying much at all about it until they feel like they have to. Maybe the convention, maybe never.
Maybe they'll wait till. They'll just figure, all right, we're going to wait till 2020, right?
Yeah, I mean, and people that want to have a political future, I don't know if they want to be tied to somebody who could have a disastrous electoral result as well. I mean, why would Marco Rubio endorse Donald Trump if he thought he was a sure loser?
Yeah. Fun territory. Well, look, even though they're only working part-time, Burgess, don't you let up at all, right? You keep after them full-time.
I don't mind working part-time.
Burgess Everett from Politico, Politico.com. Thanks for coming in, man.
Thanks for having me in.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine,
Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad, as a friend,
As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
as an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday.
It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Well, hour number 3 coming up with lots going on. Rebecca Cinderbrand is the political editor for the Great Washington Post. She'll be here in studio with us, bring us up to date on Indiana and beyond. And then we'll talk to Ryan Grimm, the Washington bureau chief for the Huffington Post. That's not only he's not only got a big job, he's made a lot of news lately. Ryan Grimm getting into a fist fight with a Fox News producer at the MSNBC post party after the White House Correspondents' Dinner on Saturday night. He'll tell us all about it. Hour number 3 coming up.
This is the Bill Press Show.
In the next hour, we start off with Rebecca Cinderbrand from the Washington Post and then jump on to Ryan Grimm from Huffington Post. President Obama, pretty light schedule today at the White House. He and the Vice President get their daily briefing at 10 a.m. 3 o'clock this afternoon. The President will be meeting with Secretary of State John Kerry, Vice President there as well. And then at 4:30 this afternoon, the President, this is always a beautiful ceremony and fun ceremony, the President will be honoring the Teacher of the Year.
Yeah.
They usually do it in the Rose Garden. This year, because of the weather, they'll be in the East Room. And our briefing with Josh Ernest at 12:45 today, back with Rebecca Cinderbrand.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All eyes on Indiana. Can Ted Cruz derail Donald Trump? Can Bernie get back in the win column? Hello, everybody. Great to see you today on a Tuesday, May 3rd. It's another primary day, another Super Tuesday. Somebody must be calling it that. No, it's just really one primary today, but it's an important one. And Indiana could have a lot of influence on both the Republican, particularly the Republican side, but also the Democratic side, where Bernie to pull off a win there today. Change the dynamic a little bit, certainly. We'll be talking about that and a lot of other news this hour, so it's good to have you with us on your local progressive talk radio station, of course, and also on Free Speech TV. The Bill Press Show live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, where, of course, we are blessed to be able to read the Washington Post every day online and in print. And Rebecca Cinderbrand is the political news editor at the mighty Washington Post, somehow finding time to join us in studio this morning, which we appreciate.
Lovely morning. Thanks for having me.
Rebecca, nice to see you. Is it still rainy?
No. It's clearing up.
Is it?
Yeah, it's looking okay.
All right. By the way, we didn't talk about, that's our team here, Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson.
Hello there.
Hey, good morning, guys. And Ray Rogers on the phones, ready for your calls at 866-55-PRESS. Cyprian Bowling on the video cam, our videographer. We didn't talk about the storm yet last night.
That was a storm.
It was awesome.
That was biblical.
Yes.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was. We had a lightning strike in front of our house. I'm telling you, it was right on top of the house. It sounded like a bomb hitting. It was. I mean,
there was
shook the neighborhood.
Ray was just showing me photos of one of her friends in Rockville who had huge pieces of hail from the storm.
Well, there were hail that was like grapefruit-sized hail.
Crazy.
Amazing.
And I was watching, I started to watch the NBC News, and they went right away to storm coverage.
Yeah.
And the guy was talking about a tornado watch and telling people, you get if you're in a mobile home, get out of it right now. Go to a public building somewhere.
Jeez.
It's safe. If you're, in your home, go down to the basement. If you don't have a basement, get in a bathroom or in a closet, the room that's the most contained, with the most walls around it and everything. And I was sort of thinking, like, he was describing what you should do if there was a hurricane. No, he was saying...
A tornado.
I'm sorry, tornado. No, he was saying, it's coming, and this is what you have to do right now. And I'm thinking,
that's news you can use. It's very servicey.
Well, I'll say, yeah. It wasn't like this theory thing of what you do if you live in tornado. He was saying, there's a tornado coming, and this is what you have to do right now. It was scary.
That's scary, man.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it ever hit. I never heard that.
I don't think so. I hadn't heard about it.
But it was heading toward La Plata.
Yeah, La Plata was
which is where one hit a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so pretty scary. I don't know why I got off into that tangent, but at any rate.
It was memorable.
It was.
Yeah, it was big. It was a big deal.
Nice to see you, Rebecca.
Nice to see
Thanks
you.
for bringing the good news that the weather.
Temporarily. I can't speak to what's coming later, but...
Yeah, it's supposed to be kind of gross all week, right?
Yeah.
We were at the White House Correspondents' Dinner Saturday night.
You were?
President Obama speaking about that sometimes he may not appreciate it, but he recognizes the importance of a free and an independent, sometimes a pain in the ass press. He made that point again yesterday in one of the interviews he gave, this one to WISN out in Milwaukee.
Sometimes, I may grumble about some of the coverage, but ultimately what separates us in part from other countries is a free and critical press that holds people accountable.
Amen. Amen to that, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's again trying to draw kind of a contrast right now. You have a president saying that, and then you have Donald Trump leading a booing course at every rally. So it's, again, one of those implicit contrasts.
Right.
Donald Trump, who literally has a press pen for reporters, right? He puts them in in the middle of the room in a cage, practically. Yeah.
Essentially.
Free press.
Yeah.
It's also interesting, not to beat up on him too much, but that the day of the dinner, the day before, Politico released its annual survey of White House, those who cover the White House. I took part in that survey, and 72 reporters did. 23% of them said the Obama administration is the least transparent of any administration in recent history.
Sure. Of course, with the asterisk that at the moment, whatever you're going through is always the very worst. And so you have to give it a couple years, and then you have the true picture. But it's been an issue.
I'm surprised because I've only been there at the White House since President Obama began. But I'm surprised that those who have been around a long time say it was a lot more open. There was a lot more access under George W. Bush than there was under President Obama, which is the opposite of what you might expect. We got lots to cover here about Indiana with Rebecca Cinderbrand and Indiana and beyond. Ryan Grimm from the Huffington Post joins us at the half hour. Famous for other things these days.
Brawlin' Ryan Grimm.
Brawlin' Ryan, they're calling him. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple of the stories making news. It wasn't that long ago that Hulk Hogan won a $140 million lawsuit against Gawker Media. And apparently he liked that trial so much, he's going back for a second round, this time involving a lawsuit where Hogan says that Gawker leaked, secretly recorded conversation that Hulk Hogan had where he uses racial slurs and things like that. It was printed actually in the National Enquirer, but Hogan is suing Gawker because he's saying that Gawker leaked that audio to the National Enquirer for them to write about. So I don't know, maybe he likes his odds because he already won one thing about against Gawker, so he's going back.
He can afford the legal fees now.
He certainly can. He's going to beat him with their own money.
Oh boy.
Congratulations to Leicester City. They won the Premier League title in soccer. It's one of the greatest sports stories of all time, they're calling it. Just a couple years ago, they were talking about doing away with the team altogether because they were so bad.
Right.
And they started this season.
They were like 5,000 to 1?
5,000 to 1 outsiders for the title. 5,000 to 1 outsiders for the title. And they came back and they won the title after Tottenham drew with Chelsea 2-2 tie last night, which means that points-wise, Leicester had enough to come back and win. So congratulations to them. What a crazy story.
The video I've seen of the crowds, the fans,
the players are watching because it's like they didn't play for the championship, right? Like there were other teams playing, and so they were watching this other game. And if it was a draw, then that meant that they went, and it ended up being a draw, so they just completely flipped out when it happened.
This is one of those times where I wish that I paid more attention to soccer.
Same, 100%, 100%.
Like the World Cup every 4 years.
Yeah. And if you want to go to Cuba, it is now a little bit easier, right? We know this. Yesterday, the first U.S. cruise ship docked in Cuba. It's the first time in more than 50 years. Carnival's Fathom Adonia arrived in Havana, and people showed up. They were there. They were ready to start getting their cruise on. So
it was great seeing that ship.
It was cool.
Come right into the Havana harbor.
Yeah, it was very cool.
There were Cuban Americans on board there who had left Cuba and hadn't been back since, and weren't allowed to come back actually since it was great. By the way, you mentioned 50 years ago.
Yeah.
50 years ago, they used to have the cruise ships departing Miami twice a week, $42 overnight jaunt. Overnight jaunt to Havana.
Wow.
$42.
Wow.
So, probably costs a little more now, but
a little bit more.
Yeah. So Rebecca, I have to ask you this: while you were giving your full court press, I just happened to notice a headline on CNN. The latest is Donald Trump is accusing Ted Cruz's father of helping JFK's assassin.
Yes. Yeah.
This is every time you turn around.
A conspiracy theory that's buzzed around for a while now, and we've noticed that Trump has had a tendency to kind of pull from these theories that kind of have been circulating on the web and kind of broadcast them, and this is one of those.
I don't know. What's it all about? How did he help?
The only thing you really need to know is that there is absolutely no evidence that it is true. So
Lee Harvey Oswald was not
aided and abetted by Ted Cruz's father, Rafael, no. But it's one of those kind of theories that buzzes around in the darkest corners of the internet, and now it's seen the light of day.
Yeah. And, of course, Donald Trump would have no compunction about raising it himself, right?
Didn't the National Enquirer say they have a photo of him with Lee Harvey Oswald? Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
This is like the
I don't believe it. I'm just saying.
This is like the birth certificate, right? Donald Trump kept that thing alive even after President Obama produced the damn long-form birth certificate.
I call it the, I mean, and this is something that's Donald Trump, it's the I'm not saying, I'm just saying defense. Like, I don't know, but, you know, I just, you know, and so that's something that you tend to see a bit on the campaign trail these days.
What's your take on Indiana today?
Well,
will Ted Cruz succeed in derailing Donald Trump?
It's not looking good at this moment. You know, you never say never in politics, so we're, you know, keeping a close eye on where things are going. But the trend lines are not working in his favor. And in particular, when we were talking about this, essentially, I call it the Big Apple effect. If you make it there, you'll make it anywhere, and that's what appears to have happened. Donald Trump started pulling away from Ted Cruz in Indiana around the time he won New York.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, we were all, before New York, saying that Ted Cruz was so good in the delegate hunt.
And well-positioned in Indiana at that point.
And well-positioned in Indiana, and that the wind had kind of gone out of the sails of the Trump campaign. Then he wins New York, then he wins 5 states, and now today 15 points ahead in Indiana.
And you feel the momentum. And, you know, our reporter talked to Scott Reed yesterday. He was talking about the Acela, he called it the Acela primary effect, that basically people in Indiana looked east and they saw Donald Trump winning every single county. And you saw that CNN ORC poll yesterday basically saying 9 in 10 Republicans now expect Donald Trump to be their party's nominee. And perhaps more important than that, he's the second choice of Ted Cruz and John Kasich supporters. And they asked people, you know, would you be upset if this person became the nominee? The person for whom the least Republicans would be upset is Donald Trump. More Republicans would be upset if Ted Cruz is the nominee or if John Kasich is the nominee. So right now he's fairly well positioned. The party leaders have to be looking at those numbers.
It also seems that in Indiana, that John Kasich might actually have done better than Ted Cruz in Indiana if he had campaigned there.
It's possible, although, you know, you look at the numbers, and we don't have a lot of polling on this. We just have kind of polling here and there, but it appears that Republican primary voters did not like the deal between John Kasich and Ted Cruz. They reacted very badly to it, to the extent that it may actually have harmed both men, not just in Indiana, but elsewhere.
I'm embarrassed. I don't have a map of the states in front of me, but isn't Ohio right next to Indiana?
It's quite close.
I mean,
it's close.
Yeah.
Ish.
Close, or is it border-ish?
They're both in the Midwest.
Yeah.
So let's say
it's not a neighboring state. Pennsylvania is. That's so weird. I'm embarrassed.
They'd certainly be more familiar with John Kasich than perhaps people down in Texas or up in New York. So
Okay. So it looks like if it goes, and if it, Trump said yesterday. Do we have that clip where it's Trump talking about what a win in Indiana would mean?
Honestly, if we win Indiana, it's over. It's over. They're finished. They're gone.
Or as Donald Trump also put it, Ted Cruz is choking like a dog.
Yeah, yes.
Right. I'm not sure what that means, but at any rate. Is it over if he wins?
I mean, in terms of winning on the first ballot, it would be looking pretty good in the sense that he'd then have to win fewer percentage of delegates. He'd have to win maybe less than half of the delegates that are remaining. And he's been winning contests, at least the recent contests, by more than 10 points, 50-60% majority. So
let me ask you the other way. What's the rationale for Ted Cruz to stay in?
Well,
after having made Indiana his, do or die state.
I mean, in terms of actually winning the whole thing, there's not a terribly great one. On the other hand, there are still people who are still never Trump. For some of the never Trump, we've been finding that it's never until the primary season is over or never until Hillary Clinton is up against whoever the Republican nominee may be. But for some people, they're absolutely firm in the conviction that they will never vote for Donald Trump. They want someone that they can turn to. Right now, Ted Cruz is the closest man to that. And so, they're not going to give that up easily without a fight.
There are those who say that on the Democratic side, Indiana, whatever happens, is totally meaningless because it won't change anything. If Bernie Sanders were in a statistical tie right now, basically, right?
Yeah, at a moment when Bernie Sanders would need to win by 30 to 40 points in order to begin to make a dent in Hillary Clinton's delegate lead.
But even a win would mean at least he's still in the game. right?
Right. Well, a win would mean, from an image perspective, that he was still in the game. In terms of an actual, claiming the nomination in terms of delegates, he'd have to win by a massive, massive margin. And, the interesting thing now, of course, is that there's this discussion going on about winning the nomination via pledged delegates and via superdelegates, and whether superdelegates should count or superdelegates shouldn't count. Of course, the interesting thing is that the basis for the majority that's required by the Democratic Party includes superdelegates as part of that requirement. So if you take superdelegates out of the mix, which some people say that's what should happen, take superdelegates out of the mix, then no one can claim the majority without having superdelegates, take away that 15%, you'd have to lower the number of delegates required for the nomination, because it was originally calculated with superdelegates in the mix.
Right.
And by that measure, Hillary Clinton at this moment, it's almost impossible, statistically impossible, for Bernie Sanders to pass her.
Bernie
on
himself
that front.
said that on Sunday. He said he didn't say impossible. He said very, very difficult, or whatever the words that he used. But he said,
and you're starting to hear frustration from some Democrats on that front.
But I think people maybe don't understand what Bernie is all about is amassing as many delegates as he can. If it's enough to win, fine. But the more delegates he has, the more influence he'll have on the platform, on the convention, on down the road.
Right. Although, he could be saying that. He could be making that case. He could be saying that's why, giving a hint that that's why he's amassing delegates. At this moment, at least, what they're saying publicly, that's not the reason that's being given for the amassing of delegates.
Well, he's in the primary.
Yep.
He's in the primary. And the primary is over. The Fat Lady sings on June 7th in California.
I think she's tuning up right now.
No, she hasn't sung yet. 22 minutes after the hour with Rebecca Cinderbrand from the Washington Post. Back, and there are, what is it? I forget how many contests coming up, but
there's a few.
Yeah, right.
Different number
13
for Republicans and Democrats.
Still 13 to go for Democrats. We'll be right back. 866-55-PRESS.
Your place to talk about the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
This is the story of my grandfather. When I was 19 years old, his right hand was crushed in a printing press. He was supposed to lose the hand, but a young doctor saved it just in time for the war. This is the story of the war. My grandfather repaired tanks. Behind the front lines, away from the cameras, he would pull pieces of dead men from the machines and send the machines back out to the field. This is the story of the war a decade later. Back then, you didn't talk about depression. There was no such thing as PTSD. When my uncle, age 7, asked him who won the war, my grandfather said, nobody. This is the story of my grandfather, the machinist. I have a newspaper from 1981, a story about the Nobel Prize for Physics, a photograph of the winner, a Harvard man standing by his machines. This man is not my grandfather. Beneath the photo, my grandfather has written, I designed and built almost everything in this picture. They worked together for 10 years, but my grandmother says the physicist never even remembered his name. If you asked that Harvard man, there would be no story of my grandfather, just a pair of disembodied hands. This is the problem with stories. They have to leave something out. The editor cuts a line and someone's face fades. The editor says 200 words or less and suddenly a whole family goes missing. The spotlight isn't about the light. It's how it makes everything around it dark. My grandfather's face is erased from every story. The machines survive, but the man who made them doesn't. The machines make the photo, but their maker is out of frame. But we choose where to point the camera. We can choose how to tell the story. We can choose which clothing the hero wears. I could tell you this is a story about a soldier, or I could tell you this is a story about the blue-collar man, but really, this is just the story of my grandfather. I did not know him. I was born too late, but my family tells me his name. Alfred Franzosa. I know that name might only live in this moment. that there are other stories with greater stakes, but still, I will tell you his name. I will repair this old machine. I will let my grandfather live again because I could not know him while he was living. Once, when he was younger than I am now, his right hand was crushed by a printing press, crushed by other people's stories. When it healed, he began to build. He used his hands to build tanks and his hands to build cradles. His hands were the last thing to touch dead soldiers and the first to touch his newborn sons. He built a good family, and that family built me, and now I use my hands to build his story. The story is not a eulogy. A eulogy seals the casket. A eulogy lets no air out. This story is a resurrection. Jesus was not resurrected by God. He was brought back by the people who told his stories. It does not take a miracle to raise the dead, to leave behind the tombstone and take the name with you.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, Ryan Grimm from Huffington Post joining us at the half hour, and we are almost there. Rebecca Cinderbrand here from the Washington Post. So, are there going to be any changes in open primaries, do you think?
This is the big discussion, and this is what Bernie Sanders has said is one of his top priorities. So, we'll see moving ahead. I don't think there's going to be any great appetite on the part of party officials to make that change, particularly after what we saw this time around. But Bernie Sanders is certainly going to make it an issue heading into the convention.
Democrats that I've talked to who are active in the DNC see this. I mean, clearly there's going to be some horse trading, right, to bring the two parties together. This could be one of the issues. What to do about caucuses could be another one. What to do about superdelegates could be another one.
That's right.
So this could be a very interesting convention in Philadelphia. And we'll be there, and I know you will too.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Rebecca. Always good to see you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now.
As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday.
It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, here we go, 33 minutes after the hour. How about it? It is the Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from Washington, D.C. and our studio on Capitol Hill, right in the heart of the action, where we're brought to you today by the International Association of Sheet Metal, Air, Rail, and Transportation Workers. Good men and women of the SMART Union, that's what they're called, giving a fair day's work for a fair day's pay under President Joseph Sellers. And you can find out more about all the activities that they're engaged in, all the good work they're doing at their website, smart-union.org. It was a big night at Saturday night, the Washington Correspondents' Dinner, and at the parties afterwards. Indeed. Pretty lively party over at MSNBC, where actually a little altercation broke out between the Washington bureau chief of the Huffington Post, Mr. Ryan Grimm, and Jesse Waters, who is the sort of phony reporter for
Bill O'Reilly's.
For Bill O'Reilly,
Yeah.
And so last night, Bill O'Reilly has Jesse Waters on to explain what happened.
This guy comes up to me with a camera phone. I don't even know who this guy is.
Right.
He starts putting it in my face. I was friendly at first, and then he started getting a little obnoxious, and, you know, things happen, and I regret that it happened, and that's all it is.
But you didn't hit him, did you?
Never punched him.
All right, see, I would have.
Of course you would have.
I would be in jail.
Yeah, Bill O'Reilly, yeah, God, I would have punched O'Reilly.
Bill O'Reilly's a big guy. I think Ryan could probably take O'Reilly.
I think Ryan could take Bill O'Reilly, no doubt about it. So we figured if Bill O'Reilly had Jesse Waters on, we were going to give Ryan Grimm a chance to tell his side of the story. He joins us on our news line, now known as Brawlin' Ryan, I've heard people call him, or Ryan the Grim Reaper.
Ryan the Wrecker.
And there's somebody there in the background.
There's actually about 200 kids here in the background.
Where are you?
I'm at Janney Elementary School.
Oh,
nice.
Whoa. Taking your daughter to school?
Yes.
All right. So, Ryan, what the hell happened? You don't like this guy, huh?
Well, after I drop her off, I give you some more details because, like Jesse said, I'm not particularly proud of it. I don't really want Iris to have to overhear too much of it.
Oh,
but
okay.
What he said is basically right. He's an ambush guy, and I kind of turned the tables on him, and he tolerated it for a second, and then he kind of didn't tolerate it.
One of the things that
he didn't. In other words, he couldn't take his own medicine, basically, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did not like it.
Some of the background on this that I thought was really interesting is that Amanda Turkle, friend of the show, a couple years ago was on vacation. She was ambushed by this guy, Jesse Waters.
No,
to try
really?
and ask her about something which he was wrong about. It was like a misquote somewhere, and she was like on her own, off the clock. Like I said, out in the middle of nowhere, and he found her and tracked her down and shoved a camera in her face. And so, apparently, Ryan, this hasn't sat well with the Huffington Post staff for several years.
No, it has not.
As it shouldn't.
No.
So, like,
if somebody won't give you an interview and you really need an interview, then I think trying to find them is an entirely appropriate journalistic tool. But you have to go through the motions first.
Mm-hmm.
You got to reach. You got to email. You got to call. You have to make an attempt. Amanda was in no way hiding. If they, in fact, she emailed O'Reilly for comment for the post that they were upset about, and they didn't get back to her. So, I kind of get the whole ambush thing. Person won't respond to my questions, and it's important to get this public figure on the record. We're going to do it.
Right.
But that was not the case with her. She was completely willing to talk. They wanted to, just kind of spook her and harass her.
Yeah.
And that's the only explanation for why you would follow someone deep into Virginia and stick a camera in their face.
Right.
And he's defended that type of behavior, and specifically with her, for a long time.
He's a jerk. He's a jerk.
He's a total jerk.
Let me ask you this. So, were you escorted out of the party after this happened?
No.
Oh, really?
It wasn't a big thing.
Okay.
It was fine.
Did any punches land? I'll put it that way. Did either one of you get hit?
Nah, not really.
Not really?
No, it was just it was quick.
Yeah. Okay. And now, has Ariana Huffington scheduled any anger management classes?
Not yet, but we do probably need a meditation session at some point.
Yeah.
No, I think she'll just suggest that you all take a nap.
Yeah, get some sleep. You need a little more sleep.
Exactly.
All right. Good. All right. Now, like in other news, do you think this Democratic primary is all over?
I mean, all over base. Yeah. I mean, basically, right. There doesn't seem to be even H.A. Goodman, the the kind of relentless Bernie booster who writes for all kinds of liberal organizations like Salon and Us, and kind of has got a ton of viral fame by boosting Bernie Sanders' chances. Even according to him, the only hope left for a Bernie win is the FBI indicting Hillary. So if that's if that's what you're hanging your coat on, then it's. I mean, he's had an incredible run, and he's going to run, all the way through California to give everybody a chance to vote, which I think is good on his part. Everybody should have a chance to vote in a contested
Amen.
election. And also in California, and Bill, you know California better than me, but it'll be great to drive, for Democrats, it'll be great to drive Democratic turnout because they have that bizarre top two finishers.
Yes.
And if there are more Republicans that come out, you can have this strange situation where you might have two Republicans go to the general election if not enough Democrats come out. So Bernie's doing the party a favor despite the many kind of criticisms he gets for being not a team player.
No, well, look, I couldn't agree more, and I'm glad to hear you say that because I just get tired of the Clinton people just saying, come on, Bernie, just pull the plug, just get out of it. They don't realize Bernie is doing Hillary a favor and the party a favor by continuing the excitement, getting new people out, getting independents out where they can vote, and also, as you say, driving turnout and also driving the agenda as well. But as a Californian, damn right, the California primary's got to count. And with this jungle primary we have there, only by more Democrats turning out can you prevent the Republicans from having the top 2 slots. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely right. So, and by the way, so the other thing about Bernie is the other day he said, right, well, Philadelphia is going to be a contested convention. Personally, having seen too many conventions that are nothing but staged events for television, right? I think Cleveland and Philadelphia are going to be a lot more interesting this year. Both of them are going to have challenges over the nomination, I guess, in Cleveland, and in Philadelphia, maybe not over the nomination, but over the platform, over the rules, over some of the issues, don't you think? It's going to be lively.
And Democrats, as both parties will acknowledge, they have issues that poll better with people. People prefer, in general, the Democratic Party platform. That's not really a controversial statement. Now, they don't necessarily win elections all the time, and
right.
That's a different question. But so to the extent that Bernie, by quote-unquote contesting the convention, can drive coverage of it and can bring people to watch it, that's a good thing overall. I think probably the word contest isn't really the right one. It's kind of like, okay, I'm going to contest this speeding ticket. Sure, you have the right. You got the right to go to court, but if he doesn't come with enough delegates, the contest is going to go predictably, just like your contest of your speeding ticket. And actually, I guess the analogy would be the best hope that people contesting speeding tickets have is that the cop doesn't show up.
Right.
And I guess Bernie's hoping the FBI does the same for her opponent.
Think about it, Ryan. How long has it been since we've had a convention where any decisions were actually made, right? That were not programmed ahead of time. Maybe
84, right? The Democrats, where they kind of changed their party structure a little bit.
Right.
Or was it 88?
I was just trying to think. There was one where they got there and they said, we're going to let the convention well, no, that was Adlai Stevenson when he said,
right.
I'll let the convention decide who the vice presidential nominee is going to be. There must have been one since then. That was so far back. But, boy, not many.
Right.
I guess maybe Jerry Ford and Ronald Reagan, right? We'll have to, you know what? We'll all have to do a little research on that. but this will be refreshing. Yeah, it really will. Well, listen, Arthur Delaney was in earlier, by the way.
How did he do?
Well, Arthur. No, Arthur's always great. We love having him in. And he told us that he gave us a report that he had seen you the morning after your little scuffle there, and that there were no bruises, no blood, no broken bones, no black eyes, and
this is a fact.
So we're glad you survived that, and we will not tell Iris. Is that her name, right?
Yes, I dropped her off.
Okay.
Yes. That's
all right.
Yeah.
Your secret is good with us. Don't worry
about it. She'll learn about it one day because of Google. But,
yes, I know. She'll Google
her. Save that off.
She'll Google her father. That will be the first item that comes up. Oh, man. Thanks for your time, Ryan. Thanks for your good work, too, man.
You got it. Thanks, Bill.
Ryan Grimm, Huffington Post, Washington Bureau Chief, HuffingtonPost.com.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
It occurred to me tonight, for the first time, that the long-winged insect that over and over again rams its body into the wood of my front door might not know what he's doing. He might not have a plan. Maybe that's just how he flies, and that is where the door is. And I remember you. The last time I saw you, a few weeks before we would graduate from high school, and a few days before you let a bullet dissolve on your tongue. Dancing in a warehouse rave, sweat-drenched and strobe light battered, thrashing your arms back and thrusting them forward. The floor could get so bright and loud, we all slowed down to be more careful, but you kept dancing full sprint tornado, and sometimes you'd spin full weight into a wall and just spread your arms against it and sway back and forth like a lover reunited. This long-winged insect is not trying to get into the house. It doesn't know there is a house. Can't imagine a life beyond that door. All it can see is the light. You and I were both 17 when you died. And ever since then, I have envied you. How you are remembered for towering, unclaimed potential instead of living to look regret in the face. You didn't have to come home 3 weeks later and explain to your little brother why you took too much medicine. Your addiction is remembered as a tragedy, not a betrayal. Your suicide attempt became a suicide, not an unpaid hospital bill. And only tonight did it occur to me that maybe that night when you let your teeth touch metal, you might not have known what you were doing. You might not have had a plan. Maybe you had hit that door so many times you couldn't imagine it might let you through. I'm still ashamed to admit it, but I have always secretly believed you did it for me, that you wanted to show me that there is a way out of all of this. Not so that I would follow you, but so I would understand that every day that I am alive is a day that I choose to be alive. And when the music stops, you still get to keep on dancing. And when the light is so bright it blinds, you can dance with your eyes closed. And if in that dark you come up against a wall, you keep your arms out wide and you dance with the wall.
Headquarters for the 2016 election, The Bill Press Show.
On Tuesday, May 3rd, at 12 minutes before the top of the hour, you know what? The most serious crisis facing the planet, we don't talk about it enough, and that is climate change. Well, it's back today and I'm glad we have a chance to talk about this before we wrap up here today. It's back in two big ways today. Number one, the front page of the New York Times today, color photograph, very important story. This is the first time in the history of this country, for the very first time, we, the taxpayers, are putting up a lot of money, $48 million, to entirely relocate one little town in Louisiana, which is soon going to be underwater.
Yeah.
Now, you hear about these Pacific islands that are soon going to disappear. This is the Ile de Jean-Charles, down in the bayou, I guess, somewhere in the bayou, one of the bayous of Louisiana, that is already experiencing a lot of flooding, and they figure in about 10 years it's going to be gone. It's going to be underwater. So they're relocating the entire town.
That's insane. That's insane.
Else, okay? So don't tell me climate change is not real.
Everybody's looking to Florida and coastal states for this stuff, but Louisiana, I think, is going to be a real problem because so many of these people that are, I mean, it already is, but so many of these climate change issues that we're seeing with Louisiana are happening in very, very remote parts, very southern parts of Louisiana.
Yes.
And that's where the waters are just taking it over. Right. Louisiana as a state looks completely different than what we learned that it looked like when we were younger.
And New Orleans is like underwater. I mean, if you're in New Orleans, you look up at the river.
Right. Right.
If it weren't for those dikes there, whatever there, you know, you couldn't live there. That's one thing. The other thing is, The governor of Florida, that idiot Rick Scott, launched a little campaign to try to get businesses to move from California to Florida because Governor Jerry Brown, my friend in Florida, in California, signed legislation raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, by the way, by the year 2022. It's not like it's tomorrow, right? So Rick Scott has this big thing saying, and he came out to California this week to try to encourage businesses to abandon California and move to Florida. So Jerry Brown yesterday released a letter to Governor Rick Scott, and he says he really takes him to task because Rick Scott is a climate change denier. So Jerry Brown says to Rick Scott in this letter, if you're truly serious about Florida's economic well-being, it's time to stop the silly political stunts and start doing something about climate change. 2 words you won't even let state officials say. And then he sends him a copy of a report on Florida. The report says Florida faces more risk than any other state that private insurable property could be inundated by high tide, storm surge, and sea level rise. By 2030, up to $69 billion in coastal property will likely be at risk of inundation at high tide that's not at risk today. By 2050, the value of property below local high tide levels will increase up to about $152 billion. They're also going to suffer, the report says, billions of dollars in additional losses because of storm damage due to extreme weather events. So Jerry Brown basically telling the governor of Florida, take care of your own business. Don't worry about these minimum wage. You got a lot more serious, lot bigger fish to fry there in Florida. It's called climate change. And he ends up, I love this, quote, so while you're enjoying a stroll on one of California's beautiful beaches this week, don't stick your head in the sand. Take a few minutes to read this report. There's no time to waste.
Let this be a lesson. Do not mess with Jerry Brown. Do not mess with Jerry Brown especially on issues of climate change.
Yeah. I mean, Jerry Brown is the leader among all the governors in recognizing how important an issue this is, how serious it is, and how we all have to be about doing something about it. The federal government isn't, so states have to take the lead. And for Rick Scott, Florida is today, I mean, we see this story about Louisiana, but Florida may be the most impacted state today in terms of dollar value.
Yes.
In Miami, where they already have flooding every day in the streets of Miami. And this governor has stuck his head in the sand, right? Yeah. And is a climate denier. No. Don't mess with Jerry Brown. And you know what? Don't mess around with climate change. Get serious about it. Good for Jerry. We'll be right back with a parting shot.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
A letter to the girl I used to be. Dear Emily, every time I watch baseball, a voice I no longer recognize whispers, Ethan, do you remember? When you were going to be the first girl to play in the Major League Seattle Mariners rally cap. But to be honest, Emily, I don't. Dad told me that like it was someone else's bedtime story. But I do know you had that drive. Didn't let anyone tell you to wear shorts above your knees. Didn't care if boys thought your hair fell on your shoulders just right, but with girls, sleepovers meant the space between your shoulder and hers was a 6-inch fatal territory. The year you turned 11 was the first time you said out loud that you didn't want to live anymore. In therapy, you said you wouldn't make it to 21. On my 21st birthday, I thought about you. You were right. At 19, you started to fade. I tried to cross you out like a line in my memoir I wished I could erase completely. And maybe I'm misunderstanding the definition of death, but even though parts of you still exist, you are not here. Most of my friends have never heard your name until now. I've been trying to write this letter for 6 months. I still can't decide if it should be an apology or not. But now you will never hear Emily Smith announced at a college graduation. Get married. Give birth. When the prescribed testosterone started taking effect, my body stopped producing the potential for new life every month. I thought about your children, how I wanted them too. I let a doctor remove your breasts so that I could stand up straighter. Now, even if I somehow had those children, I wouldn't be able to nourish them. My body is obsolete, scarred cosmetic, but never C-section. I was 4 days late. They will never be grandparents. I was 1 week late. They will never hold their lover's sleeping figure. I was 11 days late. They will never breathe in a sunset and a sunrise in the same night. I was 2 weeks late. They will never learn to jump rope. I was 3 weeks late. They will never shout, "Watch, Mommy, watch me on the slide." I was 2 months late. A piece of us will never wrap their arms around our leg for comfort, but just to keep them from falling down. And I am sorry that this process is so slow, and all you can do is wonder if you ever had a place. You did. You still do. Don't forget that. Yours, Ethan. P.S. I never hated you.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is The Bill Press Show.
Well, I know Bernie Sanders shook things up again Sunday when he told reporters that they could expect a contested convention in Philadelphia. But if you ask me, that's good news, not bad news. It'll be great to get away from boring, made-to-order, fully scripted TV events, which is what conventions have become, and get back to the old-time political conventions where anything could happen and decisions were actually made. Now, what Bernie means by a contested convention is 4 things. 1, if Hillary doesn't have enough pledged delegates to win the nomination outright, he'll try to convince superdelegates to change. 2, he'll fight to get his supporters named to the important Platform Committee and Rules Committee. 3, he'll fight to get his ideas and policies into the Democratic Party platform. And 4, he'll demand a primetime speaking slot where he can deliver his progressive message and also rally his supporters to endorse the Democratic nominee. So good for Bernie. I can't remember the last time there were any surprises at a Democratic convention. This year's is going to be a whole lot more fun. Can't wait for Philadelphia. That's my parting shot for today, folks. Have a great Tuesday. Come back tomorrow because
this is The Bill Press Show.